everyone. Welcome to WTFodcast, our weekly free-form discussion podcast where we talk about anything and everything. I am Ladyducky of Twitch. Over here, this guy is Steve of WTFAnimeINC on YouTube. This guy over here, KriticalSkeptic of Discord. And the bottom here, EmberSoul of Twitch. Now, that was the weather. Here, back to you, Steve.
Thank you so much. Welcome to WTFodcast. This is episode 3. So we are 3 episodes deep now of the weekly podcast, and that's awesome. So figured we'd kind of change things up for a bit and go to our new screen, whoosh, and we're going to be discussing Reddit stories today. So now, I don't know how often you guys are on Reddit, but I'm on Reddit kind of frequently. So I don't really like post much, but I definitely like reading like fucked up shit. So we all kind of shared a little something and everything like that. So I figured if you guys are ready, we can start digging into it. So
Heck yeah.
All right.
Let's get it on.
All right. So our first story is an Am I the Asshole story. All right. Am I the asshole for not inviting my father's new girlfriend on a trip with my friends? My father, 55 male, started seeing Kelly, 25 female, recently. Kelly and I attended high school but never socialized. My parents divorced a year ago and I, 25 female, found out from social media. My father has been trying to get my brother, 23 male, and I, Yep, I skipped something. Oops. So, doing it on the live. So, my father has been trying to get my brother and I to invite Kelly to our activities. He will ask us what we are doing and then ask if Kelly can be invited. Example, we were celebrating my friend's birthday dinner, and my father dropped Kelly off at my apartment and insisted that I take her with me. The dinner was very awkward, but my friends did their best and were very nice to Kelly. Kelly spent the entire dinner complaining about having to be there and kept asking if we could leave. My friends booked a nice weekend for a weekend getaway and had everything planned. We booked a room big enough for 4 people. My father reaches out to me asking what I was doing this weekend, and I told him that I was going to visit a friend. My friends post a picture of us on social media, and my father texts me asking why didn't I invite Kelly on the trip. I texted back saying maybe because none of us wanted her to come. I tried to reach out to my father to apologize, but he won't answer any of my texts or calls. Kelly has texted me saying that I hurt her feelings and my father's. Am I the asshole for not inviting my father's new girlfriend on a trip with my friends? And I have to say personally, no, you're not the asshole. Like, just because your dad wants to date a 25-year-old chick who's like the same age as you does not mean that you are, emboldened to taking her on your friends' trips because she's not your friend.
Wait, so his dad's girlfriend is the same age as his son?
No, as her.
Oh, her.
That's just an extra level of weird, but take the age gap out of it and it's still kind of weird. For your family to impose that. It's not like it was a family vacation, at least that's not the context sounded like. Sounded like he just wanted to be invited or invited himself on a whatever camping trip or an outing with his son and their friends, and that, not that there's anything particularly wrong with that if you're the type of person that does lots of your activities and outings with family. Maybe it's more normal for some people, but it doesn't sound like the type of trip that was planned to drag the family along.
No, I mean,
dad and the girlfriend seem a little out of place in this particular situation.
She and her friends decided to plan a trip. They went and they did the trip. She's not emboldened to take her dad's girlfriend with her on this trip. They're not friends. She's his dad's girlfriend. And just because they're the same age, to me, that means, hey, fuck that. You're not, you're not liable to sit there and be like, hey, let me take my dad's girlfriend with us just because she's the same age as all of us.
I'm trying to see things. Maybe there might be things like maybe the dad's girlfriend doesn't have a lot of friends, and maybe that's why he's like pushing her like, hey, you know what, you guys are the same age, maybe you guys can all hang out and be friends, and maybe
That's
she
false
lacks
compensation,
friendship.
not imposing.
It's still I don't think she should be forced
No.
to
No.
take her on that, but maybe there's other ways we could think about it, like maybe she's lonely and he wants her to have friends, but that shouldn't be the responsibility for the
Kid.
daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
no, I mean,
Girlfriend needs more friends. Take her out. Get her to meet people. Go socialize with her.
well, and I'm not going to sit there and call out ageism or anything like that, but he's 55, she's 25. There's probably a good reason why she can't hang out with her, with the dad's friends. It's because they're all probably the same or close to around about the same age as him. So it would be super awkward for all these guys to be sitting there talking, about stuff. And then suddenly, like, you got this 25-year-old who has absolutely zero clue what you're talking about.
Like the guys that sit around the garage drinking beer, playing cards, or the guys that are always whatever at the VFW or the corner bar, probably around his age.
Yeah.
And
This guy got game. This guy got game though. He pulled a 25-year-old. Nice.
I'm more
yeah.
worried about the whole like codependency, narcissistic manipulation type thing. Like, why do I have to include her into certain aspects of my life? Like, it feels like a manipulation tactic to me. I'm worried about that stuff,
Yeah,
it could be more manipulative or less manipulative, but there definitely is
Boundaries,
some
you know what I
sort
mean?
of like forced socialization there, and in a way that there's something psychologically strange about that.
yeah.
It feels like a forced boundary type deal.
Yeah.
I hate when people make you feel like you have to do something, then they guilt you because you didn't do it. That is the manipulation I do not like.
Yeah.
Agreed.
She was also saying how she didn't go into it, but she was saying, I think in one part of the story, how she was like complaining the whole time, how she didn't want to be there.
Yeah, that's I wouldn't want to be around that energy.
That ruins the
Sorry.
vibe.
Yeah. So, all right. So the final ruling, not the asshole.
Nah, not the
asshole.
All right.
Well, unless you want to say
awkward situation.
Dad is
I would say
an asshole.
I would say if anybody's the asshole in the situation, it's the dad and the girlfriend. The dad and the girlfriend are the biggest assholes in the situation, just because the dad shouldn't be forcing to sit there and be like, oh, well, she's the same age as you guys, take her with you. And B, the girlfriend, because when she's out with them and realize she's got free will, it's not like she was forced to go. So if she's gone out with them, then yeah, take your time and sit there and wait out a dinner, do fun things, and try to be a fun and engaging person. And you may not like it in the moment, maybe you will, but at the same time, don't sit there and complain. Like, nobody's holding anything to your head saying you've got to do this. So,
all
right. Moving on to the next one. Fancy. All right. Another am I the asshole? Am I the asshole to refuse to help my wife bathe our son when she says she's tired today? Where I live, there is a hot summer right now. So we put our son under the shower almost every day after kindergarten time. Usually my wife is responsible for this. I just help get him undressed and filled the bath with water and toys. But she does the actual washing. Yesterday, my wife told me that she's tired and has a back pain and wanted me to shower with him this day. I was just coming home from work and I was exhausted. I will also have to do all the dinner dishes at night while they are sleeping, so my day is not easier anyhow. As my wife always complained about being tired and not able to do things, and I just read that literally how it was written, asking for help, etc., I told her then I am not also going to do the house chores at night as I am also tired. She got angry and told me that I don't care about her emotions or physical strength and that she doesn't ask me for this every day. I still also insisted to not help. My goal was to let her know that each one in the house has something to do, and if everyone says I am tired, then nothing gets accomplished. I wanted to punish her for starting very often that she's tired. I think he meant stating very very often that she's tired and has no energy to do anything. Although I know she has energy as she spends hours on Facebook and talking to her friends over the phone. I don't want things to escalate. I just want her to have discipline and do what she has to do. Am I the asshole?
All right. So in the closing part, I can see his point about if everyone is always too tired, a lot of shit starts slipping, and that becomes a valid excuse. Because if both parties are legitimately tired from their long day of responsibilities, that excuse is equally shared. It's valid equally to both of them. Therefore, I don't think that should be something that you use as an excuse. Now, on the flip side, I do think it is a little bit of an asshole thing because I think that's a weird hill to die on, a weird place to put your foot down firmly and not be willing to make the occasional compromise because, I mean, a household unit, whatever the relationship dynamic is a shared workload. Otherwise, it doesn't work, and one person ends up taking on far more of the burden. And over time, that leads to burnout and oh gosh, the way you view the other person. You start it's the way you start viewing the other person changes.
You get bitter.
Essentially, yeah, that's a good way to phrase it. I lost the word I was looking for.
Yeah,
So,
in this case, I do think they're kind of the asshole. And the reason being is if this is something that the wife isn't asking for every day, then yeah, help out, you know? But also I just found it weird is why did he feel the need to mention I wanted to punish her for, you know, for stating very often that she's tired and has no energy to do anything, although I know she has energy as she spends hours on Facebook and talking to friends over the phone. You can do all that stuff at the same time you're doing things like cleaning the house, washing the dishes, vacuuming, doing the chores. You know, you can do every single last thing of like talking to people on the internet while cleaning. I know because I often do it with you guys when I'm, you know, deep cleaning my house every weekend.
Monday.
Yeah. So I just, for some reason, this is reeking of the asshole.
Yeah, the mentality of needing to teach someone a lesson to correct them, as if a civil conversation going, hey, I'm burnt out, I had to do this today, or trying to keep things fair and balanced. There's a lot of ways you can fucking approach it to make someone see, man, it might be a little too much to ask today. But, you know, you need to be willing to trade off on chores for one another once in a freaking while.
I
triple agree.
I agree with, you know, it doesn't seem like this is a every day, like, oh, I'm too tired to do this and tired to do this and tired to do this. And if it's something like that and she's trying to push it off like that, yes, that could be kind of asshole-ish, but I'm seeing him more as the asshole because this seems like this seems like a one-time thing, or there's not enough in the story to tell us how frequently this happens. But to me, it's really more of an asshole because using the term punish, like I have to punish her, like that's weird. That's weird.
Yeah. It's not healthy, or it's not recommended to even try to punish. It's like borderline toxic mentality. You know, punitive behavior in relationships can just have damaging consequences. It's not an effective way to resolve or promote any kind of healthy change.
That part right there, not an effective or healthy way to resolve a thing.
Yeah. You know, I prefer to be on open communication, setting healthy boundaries, and if needed, professional help. You know, I believe in that. And then, you know, focus on positive reinforcements and prioritize well-being. So I understand having a disciplined mindset, but
there's a difference between having a disciplined mindset and then sitting there going, well, because you don't have that same discipline as I do, I need to punish you in this instance because you're not behaving the correct way that I think you should. And like that, just like I read this one and it's got 0, if you notice, it's got 0 upvotes And I think for a very good reason, this one does not have any. So, especially at 239 comments.
If you feel a need to condition or mentally change your fucking partner, you might not have wanted to be together long term in the first place, or somewhere along the line something went wrong and the communication went to shit.
Yeah. All right. So, he's the asshole?
Yeah, yeah. Upvote on the asshole.
All right.
Sorry, bud.
Flag.
Yeah, you asshole.
I wouldn't like.
So this next one, this one was actually sent over by Ember. And what is your most bizarre DoorDash story that just left you saying what the fuck? So the first half here is the actual original subject, and then we've also got one of the top rated comments for this one. So I'll read the original one and we'll comment on that, and then we'll go into the second part. So, what is your most bizarre DoorDash story that just left you saying, what the fuck? Posted on r/DoorDash drivers. Finding a lot of lightheartedness and humor in these stories I'm reading lets me know I'm not alone. I'll go first. I live in New Mexico. One of the first few deliveries I had was to pick up from a restaurant called Sadie's and to deliver it about 4 miles away. Their order consisted of simply just chips, queso, and salsa. Upon picking up the order, I started to venture to the delivery destination. The closer I got, I started to realize, wait, am I delivering to a different Sadie's location? Maybe they ran out of chips and salsa and DoorDashed from the other store. I get there and speak with numerous employees and managers, and they're all completely denying placing the order, and there was no one there by the name of said customer. So the next thing I do is try to contact the customer. For about 10 minutes, I tried calling and texting and no answer. After numerous attempts, DoorDash just instructed me to complete the delivery by taking a photo of the food outside the store and leave it. This also happened to me under a Petco order. So, and I saw this, and the first comment that's underneath it really
my interest.
Yeah, it really struck me, and I can see why Ember picked this one. I got an offer from McDonald's once, $4.50 for about a mile, but that entire mile was driving to the restaurant. The drop-off was at the gas station next door. I figured it was the gas station clerk ordering lunch since they weren't allowed to leave the gas station. After a short wait, I picked up the order and walked into the gas station parking lot. That's when a man in a business attire got out of his car, explained that he was a McDonald's corporate employee who was sent to the store to evaluate the delivery orders. Pretty weird, but it seemed legit. So I gave him the food, got back in my car, never got a CV, so this guy was almost certainly who he said he was. I've never heard any other stories of this happening. It was an interesting delivery, to say the least. Now, I've heard of secret shoppers, and I think secret shoppers are a pretty common thing, but I've never heard of like a secret delivery shopper. You know, like it just, the story intrigued me because I was like, what is the point? Like, because certainly if it was a Pizza Hut and they were ordering from the Pizza Hut and the Pizza Hut driver is the one taking the food, I would want to see what the delivery response is. But in this case,
the company's driver, not a third-party driver that really isn't, they're an independent contractor. You can't tie them to the company you're ordering food from.
Yeah.
You know, at least with certain issues.
Yeah, precisely. Like, why are you trying to judge somebody who's not even connected to your company? What are you going to do? Sit there and go back to DoorDash and be like, well, your delivery driver was 5 minutes late. Okay. And DoorDash doesn't work for you.
This makes no sense to me. This sounds really stupid. I don't know how to even comment on this story. It's just like you order food and then somebody's watching you deliver it, and then it's like, okay, are they the only thing that makes sense to me is if the person watching you works for Uber or the delivery service and they're seeing how the drivers are delivering. I don't know how the restaurant can do anything to Uber or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
It doesn't make sense. That sounds stupid.
But but the other question is why would DoorDash be sitting there and doing something like, judging the quality of their drivers? Because that's something they haven't done before. So why would they suddenly be like, well, maybe we should place in some ghost orders and sit there and see what our drivers do.
Yeah. And apparently this is something they do regularly for all their corporate stores too. That's the second most comment there.
Well, that's for the McDonald's, and like
for McDonald's.
I thought that was the McDonald's owner watching the driver of a different company.
No, he was.
Like one of the franchise owners or someone in upper management doing an evaluation.
Yeah, but why would he be evaluating like the DoorDash delivery person? Right? What are you going to do? Sit there and go, well, we're going to take ourselves off a DoorDash because...
I know what I'm thinking would be the only reason behind it.
There could have been a lot of issues with DoorDash with that store. And maybe the owner was like, maybe I need to watch and see what's going on. So then they can report it to their DoorDash or something. Maybe there's an issue going on with that store.
Maybe, but at the same time, I feel like, well, if that's such a problem, if that's such a prevalent thing going on, then with that store, why doesn't McDonald's just start their own delivery service? They refer to it on the app anyway as McDelivery. Why not just McDonald's finally hire some McDelivery drivers? I got even the perfect car for them to drive around in. Smart cars.
Oh, no.
Why the hell not? Clown company sitting there driving around clown cars? Like,
you don't have to pay an employee an hourly wage if the car drives itself.
That too.
I got an image.
That sort of stuff for delivery.
This reminds me of a recent movie I saw, The Thunderbolts. The mentality is there where Alexei is like, your subordinates will be reported to DoorDash HQ because they're knocking on the door. Leave it there, he says, kind of deal.
They should drive around
knocking on the door.
like that.
Yeah. Little car there. Beep, beep. All right. So, the thing is I'm thinking smart car because it's a similar vein, but we could have like the McDonald's logo all over it. And it's a literal clown car almost, Plus, how awesome would it be to sit there and like, suddenly, like, you cut off the McDonald's delivery car and the guy slams on his hood and it goes, do-do-do-do-do.
I'm loving it.
That would be funny. The horn is that. God.
So, all right. So another one down. All right. So the next one, this one is on r/funny stories, and it's called Horror Movie to Comedy. So I kind of liked this one. This is one of the ones that I picked. It's only got 16 updates. So, all right. During a work trip in Missouri, I landed so late that I almost missed picking up my rental car to drive to my hotel. My boss put my hotel about 2 hours away, since it was the closest to where I needed to go in the morning, and I wouldn't have arrived to my hotel until around 3 a.m. or so. I've never been to Missouri, but part of the ride where I had to through was 60-plus mile long road before the next intersection. I've never experienced driving on a road like this. Just 2 lanes, no guardrails, only a ditch that led to fields and fields of corn, wheat, or other crops. No street lamps, an itty-bitty town that I could drive through in less than 5 minutes, and these towns were 10 to 15 minutes of driving apart. Again, I've never driven down a road / town / area such as this, so I had my high beams on, drove cautiously, and slower than what the speed limit might be, since no other car was zooming on the other side, and kept an eye out for any animals that might pop out. I've also, for the first time, encountered bugs that just being splattered on my windshield, which was honestly something I always just thought only happened in cartoons and movies as exaggeration. Anyways, as I'm driving, I see a man in a field just several yards from where the road was. I only saw him because my high beams. It was 2 to 3 a.m. and so dark. I didn't see a car or a bicycle around. I just passed a town maybe 5 minutes ago, so that was far from someone with no vehicle. I don't know if it's a hero complex or naivety, but when I see people in distress or might need help, I usually try and stop and help. In this case, just seemed like this man was either lost, confused, drunk, suicidal, I don't know. My mind was just going crazy thinking this man is not in a good place if he's out here in the middle of nowhere just chilling. Even though the road was tight, I backed up the car, put on my hazards, and turned slightly towards the field so I could take a better look. I was in the car and was hesitant to get out, especially because I watch a lot of horror movies, and this is how some of them start. But I get out of the car and loudly say, "Hello, excuse me, do you need any help, sir?" The guy is just standing, swaying a bit, but just staring into the field / sky. "Are you okay?" I say again. Nothing. I debated what to do next. Call the police, honk my horn, drive to the nearest town. But would I even know where to come back? So I took the horror movie action of just going to see the man myself. I went down the ditch and slowly got close, only to realize, as most readers probably guessed by now, it was a scarecrow. I know this could have gone so bad if it were any other situation, but I couldn't help but to laugh so hard that I cried. I was genuinely trying to be helpful and got worried, and it turns out I made a 10-minute stop to make sure a scarecrow was okay. But at least it kept me wide awake until I got to my hotel. This is how you can tell some people have never been to the country.
Yeah,
Never
really.
driven on a road that's 2 lanes wide with a ditch on either side. I'm like, how old is this guy? 18? He must not have done much driving in his life.
So, and I
Never
just
driven on a road where bugs splatter your vehicle.
That was weird. I never experienced any of that.
Sounds like he hasn't been driving for very long. Well,
So I'm used to swamps and tropical rainforest, so
I'm just picturing in my head this guy in all earnest getting out of his car going, "Sir? Sir, are you okay?" And then suddenly like getting close and being like, the scarecrow being like,
man, this guy kind of looks like he's crucified. Who would have done that to a person? Very strange that he's just like, like 10 feet up in the air and like this. Go check on him.
Maybe he's so just out of reality. He sounds like somebody who's like wears one of those sweaters around like the top of his body, and he's wearing khakis. He's all nicely dressed. He's like, "Oh dearie,
yeah, I have a cardigan I rock sometimes."
Yeah.
A lot of people off with this one, but yeah, the type of guy that wears white cargo shorts with boat shoes everywhere he goes.
There we go.
My name is
Cardigan.
my name is Dante. I'm from Rhode Island, and this is my first time driving out in the country, and I've never heard of one of these scarecrow things, but now I've seen one. Very interesting.
It's
Sorry
funny.
to all
I'm victim
Dantes.
to that same mentality though in DayZ from my stream. Sometimes I look at the scarecrows and I'm like, zombie? Oh no, just
Oh, well, you're in a heightened sense game where everything's trying to kill you. That makes sense for
Yeah.
that to make you jumpy then. If the guy was being chased by dudes trying to shoot him all freaking day, it would make sense to be a little jumpy. Oh shit.
I figured you guys would like that one just because of the absurdity of it.
Yes. And that's what I wanted to say before it slipped my mind was it almost sounds like he just made it up based on watching 20 B-rate horror movies. Because that sounds like how the first dumb victim dies in every freaking horror movie. He's
Hey,
clearly
guys.
a guy that's out of place, is unfamiliar with the surroundings. He makes these very innocent, naive decisions, and they lead up to being slightly more stupid every decision until, the guy wearing the skin for face and then when the chainsaw gets him.
Gets him.
So, all right. Well, moving on to the next one.
He's the asshole.
Yeah. So the Scarecrow was the asshole, obviously.
Yeah, the Scarecrow's the asshole, obviously.
So, this next one was submitted by Ducky.
Oh.
And this one's on our lesbian actually. So, and it's a very serious topic. So just want to warn people, if you don't want to listen, fast forward, please.
People are getting really angry when I start making fucking jokes about this, I'm sure.
So, it's called My Girlfriend Hit Me, Do I Leave Her? Like one of the simplest questions ever. But me, 29 female, and my girlfriend, 49 female, were sort of in the middle of it yesterday when she got a call saying that her daughter, who's an adult, has been assaulted and brought to the hospital. I was annoyed about the interruption, but went to the hospital with her regardless. She cried the whole time there. I've never seen her so wrecked before. Once her daughter was sedated, I pulled her aside and said something that I shouldn't have said. You don't have to pretend to be so worried. She's not even your biological daughter. You didn't carry her. You didn't give birth to her. You just adopted her when she was 6. You haven't even known her whole life. I know this was a feeble justification for what I said, but I have Asperger's, which means I sometimes say things that I don't mean, only to realize later how offensive they were. For example, I once had a friend who was suicidal, and I asked her, which bridge, with a blank face, because I thought that would be so funny. So yeah. Then my girlfriend slapped me, and she told me to go home because she was staying with her daughter tonight. When she came home this morning, she was still very exhausted and looked like she'd been crying all night. I spoke to her about what had happened, and she said something along the lines of, "You deserved it, but I should have held back. I'm sorry." I said something about abusive behavior. I was abused as a child, which she knows. And she just said calmly, "I'm not begging you to stay where you feel afraid. Pack your things if that's how you feel." You can imagine I cried a bit after that. We've been together for 3 years, and she has never once laid a hand on me before. Never even gotten close to it. She has gotten angry with me and my offensive stuff sometimes, especially when it's about her kids. She's very protective of them and loves them more than she loves herself, but now I don't know what to do. I feel like she had the right thing to do what she said. What I said was very offensive at a very hard moment for her, and it only dawned on me this morning that I shouldn't have said it. I wish I had the empathy of a normal person, but what can you do? My girlfriend is truly a good person. She's a doctor who raised 2 wonderful kids on her own. 99% of the time, she's very sweet and understanding, and she always encourages me to be my own person and do what makes me happy. So I do try to talk this out with her and see how it goes from now on, or... Also, I created this account for the sake of this post. I've never used Reddit before, so hopefully I did post this in the right way. So, first off, like, it's a full mama bear moment.
Yeah.
You know, your kid's in trouble. You're there at the hospital with them. You're trying to provide them comfort, and then somebody says something so offensive, like you have that mama bear moment, and it just, I have feelings on it as a parent myself, and especially as a parent of adoptive children, because to me my kids are my kids. They're not you know, just because I signed a piece of paper to get them on the instead of sitting there and birthing them from my loins, they're still my kids. So, and I've had my Papa Bear moments. So, and Ducky, I know you submitted this one, so obviously it touched you in a way, and I'm just trying to figure out, you know, like what your personal thoughts were on this one.
I don't. Okay, so maybe this is
Microphone.
touchy. This person has Asperger's or whatever, and
It's a big issue.
the things she said, like, "Oh, don't stop pretending you're worrying." The things that she was saying, I was like, "Okay, that slap was justified." Like that pissed me off. I was like, but then I'm like,
Asperger's.
I'm mad at her for saying that, but is having Asperger's a reason for her to say that? Is that okay?
It doesn't
I
make
mean,
it
Yes and
okay,
no.
but it does make it an
Yes and no.
uncontrollable issue.
right.
You know,
It falls
So-
to that
when somebody
responsibility of
would-
the self issue.
It's a
Okay.
very
I
tricky
want.
issue because of the fact that the person who said it has Asperger's, because that's like Tourette's. They can't
Yeah.
control, maybe not exactly, but to the degree they cannot control their thoughts coming out of their mouth by going, wait a minute, and calculating what those words are going to affect, how they're going to come across. So I understand that that was a neurological issue leading to a compulsive thing.
Okay.
So it's hard to really hate the person for it.
I don't
However,
hate
I can
them.
completely understand how those exact words or anything very similar to that would inspire the urge to knock someone's teeth down their mouth, because that is a cold, fucking awful thing to
Cold.
say.
Yeah.
And
People,
on the other flip side, as someone who has experienced many fucking dumb social situations with people, where I've been put in a situation where I think to myself, my God, I wish I could just hit you in the mouth so you would know never to do some shit like that again. But myself, I've always struggled on that impulse and, you know, tried to take the high road. I don't think I've actually ever decked anyone over the stuff they said, as the hundreds of times they've made me want to. I'm not a proponent of ever using force against words. I'm very much
Right.
against that, because I think
Mhm.
we all as people are capable of doing better, and that anyone who sinks to that level, if you don't need to actually defend yourself or someone you care from a physical threat, you shouldn't escalate it to that. If you do, essentially you brought your own self down a peg while standing up for yourself. So I can't truly be
I can
I'm a
see
little
it
mad
from
at how
that
he said it,
autism
but
perspective myself too. So
I can see how it affects somebody in the moment. And again, it's that mama bear moment. You wanna protect your child from any and all perceived threats, especially in some place like the hospital. And it was a really insensitive comment.
oh yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like it's also partly on the person with on the poster with the Asperger's, where that also shows like the environment they grew up in, that, even if they couldn't pick up on the social cue, possibly, they should have known that a hospital isn't exactly somewhere to make a comment like that. And yeah, I realize that, somebody who's on the spectrum doesn't exactly necessarily have those control sensors in their head. But, I've known people who are on the spectrum who know that when you're in a certain situation, like a hospital or something, you sit there and you hold your comment till you're in a more appropriate venue, like outside or something like that. And I've dealt with high functioning to low functioning, and there seems to be like, their parents raised them to the point where, okay, well, we're here, so when we're in this building, kind of be respectful. And they pick up not the social cue, but they know, oh, well, my parents told me that when I'm in this place I need to do this, and they put that literal chain in their head for that. But also, like, you've been with this person 3 years, you know how they feel about a person. I feel like also just naturally being with somebody for 3 years, you probably know better than to also make that comment.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just kind of how I feel on it. Maybe it makes sense. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But that's kind of where I'm at.
A place,
But
you should learn some cues, some triggers to keep in your head, keep a
Perspective on
handle
this.
on your issue. And especially if it's a person you've been in a relationship with a long time, you're very familiar with their likes and dislikes and their triggers. You've got a long time to practice getting better at communicating with them if you care about them.
you
And
need
I
to
imagine that this
understand.
is probably a constant it's mentioned in there that they get mad about, inappropriate comments from time to time, that this seems to be a more than a one-off
Well,
situation.
yeah, it's a
It
lesson
seems
that you learn.
like the one that made the comment isn't doing a very good job of remembering their social responsibilities to their partner and their more human side and why a filter's important. Seems like one party needs to work on themselves a little bit more, and I think that,
That's
if
what I
that's
want to touch
happening a
on.
long time, I don't know, man. If it's not getting better over time, that's probably not a relationship you're going to be able to make last.
If this person is legitly diagnosed with Asperger's, like, this is the challenge. They have difficulties with social cues. Um, they read and interpret nonverbal cues like body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice. It just makes it, they also have a literal interpretation of language.
Yeah.
So they have a difficulty understanding sarcasm, humor, or figurative language.
Mhm.
Um, so it's like they're a database with language. They're always thinking like that. Um, they also have challenges in expressing emotions as well. Difficulty with conversation flow and reduced social filter. No, it's just that is what Asperger's is classified as. If they're diagnosed with that, it's a challenge. I'm there with my autism to where, like, I'm aware of certain issues, but just awareness doesn't mean I have a solution to the problem. Um, I have to rewire behavior, retrain myself. It takes a lot of work,
Yeah.
a lot of
So,
a lot of practice.
well, that's not one that we can go, you're the asshole on. So,
Yeah, if
No,
anything,
I think
I advise y'all get counseling and
Yeah, that's
I,
at the very, maybe even a separation break
yeah.
or
I
something.
think
Counseling.
they both seem
Yes.
like they do have a maturity about them. Like the Asperger's person knows that they have these issues, and
Yeah.
Mama was just being protective, and she knew that, it was a high tense situation going on. Nobody was clearly thinking, but I think if they sit down and have open communication, they, hey, I think they'd be all right. But it's
Individual therapy and relationship therapy. Individual to
right.
specifically explore why this keeps happening. Like, shooting it told your suicidal friend
And
or
it
joke
is
like that.
a
Like,
little
that's
bit more
not the moment. You know,
Mhm.
yeah.
it is a little more complex than two people
it's
who
very
have
complex.
well-rounded mental states and lives
Yeah.
discussing things in a civil back and forth where they are very much understanding what the other is saying. When one person has a neurological disability like that, it may take them a long time to remember, or they may not even process it in the way you're conveying it. They might
Totally.
only pay attention to one point or misinterpret a point here and there. So it can take a lot of conversations about the same issue to actually gain ground and progress on that sort of thing. Um,
Yeah.
I'd agree with you. Sitting down and talking is an important step in it, but I think with that, for them to understand one another and how their brains work differently, that
Professionals.
like a professional third party
Yeah.
in the middle would probably be very important for
Yeah.
progress.
Yeah.
Because we don't
Definitely.
know what Mama Bear be bottling up, but attacking is not a good flag either.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No, definitely not.
So, well, let's go ahead and let's move on to something a little bit different, a little bit more happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the what's
Sorry.
the stupidest thing you've ever seen in a movie or a show? Now, one of the comments sat there and raised something up in Ember, and it was when the dog ate Dan's heart in One Tree Hill.
That was one of those they really scripted this, like, as if it couldn't get more dramatic to
I
show.
thought that was like a family-friendly PG, like CW show.
It was, yeah. Not
That
really. It
seems
was
like
a
a
very
weird
intense
scene.
drama show. There's a scene where I don't even remember the main character because it was so long ago, but basically, he's like the asshole character. No one likes him. But it gets to the point to where he needs like a heart transplant type deal. And in the scene where they're rushing to bring the heart to him type deal, something happens and there's a dog there, the dog eats it, and then the main character just like sees it all go down. The other character sees his heart get eaten and they're like looking at each other and he just gives them the stink eye type shit. And I'm like, well, they even wrote that into the script.
I was just like, damn, like what I'll do for context is I will go ahead and cut in the video now.
Dr. Sebastian to OR West. Dr. Sebastian to OR West.
Dr. Jameson, please call extension 2524. Dr. Jameson, please call extension 2524.
Dr. Casper to the ER. Dr. Casper to the ER.
Nurse Henderson to admitting. Nurse Henderson to admitting.
Honestly, when I watched the scene, I was like, what is this really going down like the way I'm seeing this right now? And legitimately 110%. Yes, that actually happened. And I was like, the hell. The next comment that I found in that chain was in X-Men when Storm, played by Halle Berry, fights Toad and says, "You know what happens when a toad gets struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else." What the fuck 5th grader wrote this bullshit? And I could only agree because I remember sitting in the theater watching that moment going, the fuck? And it's really, really specific too. Like, maybe the person who wrote that line was like, you know, every day when I'm sitting on my back porch and I'm watching the frogs in the lake, and then suddenly I just watch the lightning come down and go, like, who the hell wrote this garbage? So, and
Do you know
then
what happens when you boil water? It's the same thing that happened. I don't know. It's something common sense thing. And
wait.
okay.
Wait, when did you write for the X-Men movies back in the 2000s?
From the childhood perspective, my childhood mind was like, badass.
I don't even think I could, like, even if I had been younger, I don't think I would have found that badass. So, just also in that movie, when Storm is lifting herself up, it is the most awkward shit ever, as she's like slowly raising and she's like, it's just, it's so weird. Another one that I had found was this one's personally from my past, and that time Jesse was addicted to caffeine pills on Saved by the Bell, and there's this scene, and I'll cut it in now.
Jesse, hey, just calm down. It's okay.
You're right.
It's okay.
Everything will be okay.
Yeah.
I just need one of these.
Pills? You mean you really are taking drugs?
I need them.
Jesse, give me those.
I need them, Zach. I have to sing.
Jesse, you can't sing tonight.
Yes, I can. I'm so excited. I'm so scared.
Jesse.
And she's literally standing there and she's like, I'm so excited. It's just, I know the original premise was, originally they were going to use a much more serious, more harder drug. And then they picked caffeine pills because the network wouldn't let them discuss the harder drug.
Makes sense.
And I went,
Yeah.
how do you get this from caffeine pills?
I want what she got.
Like, nobody would have ever, like, even back then, nobody believed it because we were all like, yeah, caffeine pills don't do that to you. Like, you're not going to sit there and be like, like, it is a ridiculous scene in all of it. So, also, by the way, I don't know if you guys noticed the number of upvotes on it, but Chef's Kiss, 666
Oh, God.
upvotes. All right, moving on. We've got another funny story here. So from r/funny stories. Dyslexic stripper. My husband and I were watching reruns of Antiques Roadshow. The theme music is kind of jazzy. The music was playing and my husband starts dancing suggestively while also unzipping his sweater. Me, love your skills, but strippers usually take clothes off when dancing. Him, I'm a dyslexic stripper. Keeps dancing. First comment, he should be calling himself a zipper.
Wait, this
Dancing
guy was
away
putting
backwards,
clothes on?
Hair up onto the stage while putting clothes back on.
Yes, he was putting clothes back on.
Damn, you need your money back.
He pays you.
I love as a dyslexic person, I love the concept of a dyslexic stripper, sitting there and being like, next up on the stage, Candy. And meanwhile, some person in the back being like, I keep thinking they're saying something else, and then when I see the name on the roll call, it says Andy is next. Oh shit, that's me. So that's another my pick. Maybe it's one of the weaker ones, but I thought that was kind of funny.
Oh.
So
No, we definitely need some uppers.
yep.
Boy.
All right. Well, here comes another one. I've got another Am I the Asshole for you? So, all right. Am I the asshole for being mad my boyfriend won't make noodles the way I like? Okay, this sounds dumb, but hear me out. I have always been a picky eater, especially when it comes to tomatoes. Ever since I was a kid, my dad would make my spaghetti different from the rest of the house. I like having an essence of the sauce flavor on the noodles, but not the overpowering flavor of having noodles bathed in sauce creates. So here's where it gets a bit odd. My dad would separate my spaghetti from the family's after putting sauce on them, and then would rinse the sauce off in the sink with a strainer. I love noodles like this as it has a nice subtle tomato vibe given to the mild spaghetti. My boyfriend, 26, has known about this since we first started dating. He always told me my food habits were cute. We have been dating for almost 3 years now and moved in together at the beginning of the pandemic so we could be in lockdown together. Ever since we moved in together, he insisted on taking charge of cooking and all cooking-related tasks, dishes, grocery shopping, etc. He assigned me the role of cleaning the bulk of the apartment. We split the other tasks pretty much 50-50 too. Everything was perfect, and he always seemed to be making the noodles the way I liked them when we had them. That was until last week when we last had spaghetti. We ate and everything was good, but afterwards he started teasing me, saying things like, "You really like your pasta with an essence of tomato, and how is your tomato essence, babe?" always using finger quotes around the word essence. After a few comments, I felt something was off and asked him if he had done anything different with tonight's noodles than he usually does, and he started laughing.
Yeah,
When he finally stopped laughing, he told me the whole truth while smirking. He said, I didn't do anything differently than I usually do. I have never been making it the way you requested. Apparently, the entire time we've been living together, he's just been skipping the pasta sauce on my noodles entirely. He claimed that if I didn't notice for this long, then it shouldn't matter that he is making dinner in a way that is easier for him. I disagreed entirely. I think he was lying, was a huge breach of trust, and so was the refusal to make a dinner how I wanted. I have admittedly been acting passive-aggressively to him since, but he thinks he did nothing wrong and that I'm overreacting and that I need to let it go. Am I the asshole? Now, before I read the edits, thoughts?
My one quick thought, and I'll let you guys go before I tear into this one because it bugged the shit out of me. But I'll simply put my first thought and let you go. Bye, Felicia. Bye.
Okay. You
No.
know, you go first, Ember, because
I'll take the hot potato. Hot potato. Hot
yeah,
potato, hot
pop it, pass it.
Oh man, I found a good one.
Oh, yeah. I got 5-minute rant.
Feels like-
Because I feel weird about this. I mean, I'll let you go first, Ember. I'm just going to say my one thing and then I'll pass it to you. I feel a little weird about this because I kind of relate to her, but I know she's wrong. And I'm mad at myself.
Very
So
true.
go.
Maybe touching on some of my issues with autism. I'd be very peculiar about what I eat: texture, taste, crunch, flavor, etc., etc., etc. So, but at the same time, like, I can feel like the betrayal.
Yep.
But
No,
that would be I would be looking at it like a gift
noodle.
type deal. Like, there'd be something more wrong with me because I didn't even notice that there was a change.
So
If you
should
were
I
fine with
read?
it,
That would
you're
just
cooking it.
be another issue
Now that
to
you
me
know.
that I'd be like, now that I know, I'd be like, okay. But at the same time, I would just be like, hey,
It's not a breach of
not
trust.
cool,
It's
but
your lack of
yeah.
observance in your own palate. You think you can only enjoy it this way. I proved you freaking wrong. I've been doing it completely different, and you were enjoying it the whole fucking time until I pointed out how it was done. And all of a sudden, the knowledge of how it was done, now you didn't enjoy the last 300 dishes of plain-ass pasta I gave you? Come on. That's irrational and unreasonable.
So should I read the first edit?
Yeah, I'm curious.
I'd like to throw in that this touches into what I was thinking, what you mentioned about how you're particularly sensitive or sensations or textures, but would you consider it fair and reasonable to put that burden on someone that is cooking for you or the whole household? Or if you want something specialized that no one else wants, would you maybe think it is on you to prepare your own food if you're more picky than anyone else is? I think that is what a reasonable person would choose. And on my third point, to just not even tear in, I won't do my 5-minute tirade. If someone else is cooking for you, if it isn't dog shit and you're choking on it, you better fucking eat it. You better fucking eat it and say thank you, even if it's mid-grade. You don't have to lie and fucking say it was great. But you say, thank you. You know why? Because that person just spent 30 minutes to an hour or longer of their day making you food because your ass was too lazy to feed yourself. Or because they were simply just trying to be kind and include you in a meal they're preparing. Fucking, if you don't want what they're making, say, I'll handle my own food situation. Yeah. I was raised where, man, if you aren't going to eat what the rest of the family is eating, you better freaking make what the fuck you want or you're going to bed hungry. You will fix your own damn food or you won't eat. Like, that's pandering. That's ass kissing. It's encouraging entitlement. I'm not for it.
So, edit number 1. My boyfriend found the post and is not happy. I'm debating pouring the sauce directly down the drain to spite him.
This woman's a bag of problems.
Edit number 2. So a lot has happened since this morning. Y'all may be happy to hear we broke up. We had a huge blow-up fight since he found the post, which led me to breaking up with him. He did not like being called a predator, and I started to think y'all had a point about that. I ended up breaking up with him. He attempted to plead with me a bit. My parents pay our rent, so he can't afford the place without me, but I wouldn't budge. Now some things I found out in the argument. First, he is not a pharmacist like he always told me. He just works at CVS. Second, he has actually cheated on me multiple times with other girls that go to my college. And lastly, and worst of all, he has actually never been allergic to dogs. He just doesn't like them.
All right,
Sounds like
first
the universe
No.
helped him.
God.
She's still in the wrong, but he is a complete piece of garbage. He's 100% wrong. It's disrespectful and entitlement. He's clearly a douchebag, though, in other ways.
God, it's like okay, so in the first half pasta thing, look, she was eating it, she was fine with it. She should have just, okay, well, there's no sauce on it, so it's not really that big of a deal. Just drop it. But then,
Just the attitude.
I can be weird around food too sometimes, but so I can see where she's like going with it, but she's wrong. And I know that's why I'm kind of mad at her, because I see myself a little bit in that, and that's wrong of me. So no, bad. She's a shit person. But then it just spaghetti to cheating, and all of a sudden he's an asshole. And it's like, what the hell is going on?
It's like the universe just, and you golden ticket.
He's a piece of shit. He is a piece of shit. She is a little, I think she's kind of a shitty too, because she's too picky. But then again, he broke her trust with the pasta and the cheating. So
it's a whole roller coaster.
It's a fucking it's a clusterfuck.
After
Just
the
throw it all away.
She had to get petty and talk unnecessary shit.
Yeah.
And then do doing spiteful things, like dumping the sauce just to piss him off. Why would you just escalate the situation? You had a problem that was this big, and you just fucking poured a dump truck extra stuff on it.
Yes, thank you. Maybe you should have read those edits, so that we can say, what the fuck is that?
I read it earlier.
It really is a roller coaster. He is not
That
wrong.
is childish of her to do. I mean,
maybe they're actually perfect for one another. They both.
You know what?
They
should just all
like
get in a big spaghetti
together
sauce
for a
of
lesson type
spaghetti
deal.
and wrestle.
So the ultimate vote on this one is everyone sucks.
Thank you.
I had to agree with it, because I was like, everyone really does suck on this one.
Holy crap, dude.
All right. So the last one to finish us off here.
Topics are stressing me out.
So, this one is a comment that I had found on Am I the Asshole? This one I found several months ago, and I actually wound up kind of saving it. So, and this one had me feel in a certain way. So, asshole of our holiday season, our son's teacher, who used BMI to dictate that my nonverbal autistic 14-year-old was underweight and called DCS, claiming that we don't feed him at home. Annoying part is that we've been communicating about his weight with her and already assured her that his doctor has told us that his BMI is not the most accurate, because if he was half an inch shorter, he would be a heavyweight. His weight and height are a direct result of genetics, as me and his father were never tall or heavy people, and that it is common for children who are hyperkinetic to be skinnier than most because they constantly move. He came home from school writing that he was ugly, meaning that they said something to him about his body at school. She body shamed my 14-year-old and called DCS on us because my son doesn't fit the standard of what she thinks he should be. And it's literally ruined our entire holiday, because in the state that we live in, children with autism are automatically considered children in need of services without any investigation needed, and our state's DCS system is under some serious investigations for corruption already, and class action lawsuits filed by past foster children they were supposed to protect.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I found this one,
Someone's
and it
running for
pissed me
Asshole of the
off.
Year award there.
I found this one, and it just pissed me the ever-living fuck off.
Yeah, you don't take somebody's family member, i.e. their ward, who they are legally responsible for, without investigation. That's fucking kidnapping on a state level. That's fucking demented, and frankly, you'd have to kick in my door and get past, well, what I'm holding to get to my kid. That's not gonna end well for any fuck that tries that.
Yeah,
And on
no.
the note, it sounds like she should be banned from working with children if she's going to psychologically antagonize them by shaming them. That woman has no business working with kids. And
I agree,
you
but
pointed out something that I'm familiar with, being raised around people in the medical field. BMI is a very inaccurate health weight measurement because it's extremely generalized. Each bracket of height and weight is very wide, and it's a generalization. It is not an accurate precision way to really gauge anything. BMI, earlier in my life, when they would do those sort of tests, you know, I was, being ADHD, I was a fucking beanpole for many, 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 many years. They always thought I was malnourished. Fucking doctors did not. Yeah, I got friends get BMI measurements, and people are like, "Oh, you're gonna die of heart failure, high cholesterol, bad blood pressure." Like, the doctors are like, "No, actually, all of your numbers and blood work are fine for your age, your size in general, blah blah blah." Fucking BMI. Start all that.
Well, I tell you what. Would you guys like a bonus story?
Well,
bonus round.
I found one more. And I did not send this one to you guys on purpose. This one's on our funny stories. Figure it's a nice way to cap off all of our adventures here. And it's Clifford the Big Red Corpse. When I was 13 years old, my local church was holding a fundraising event, and it involved a really big pre-owned book sale. To promote the massive amount of children's books they were desperately trying to get rid of, someone rented a cheap, well-worn Clifford mascot costume. The fabric in the joints had rubbed away, the ears on the headpiece looked like they were rotting off, there was some troubling stains on the ass of the suit, and it certainly smelled like someone had shit themselves before dying inside of it. One of the high school choir boys had, at the overbearing pressure of his mom, volunteered to wear the suit for the event. On the day of the fundraiser, he purposefully made himself throw up by drinking 5 liters of Dr. Pepper in 20 minutes, which convinced the adults he was too sick to play the role of Clifford. The priests went to each volunteer begging them to do it, and were only met with very firm no's. Then one of them came to me, a tiny 8th grade girl who was just trying to meet the minimum 10 hours of volunteering needed for my Catholic school to pass me for the year. Not only did the priest offer to sign my volunteer sheet and fully filled it out, thus completing my requirements when I had done maybe 2 hours of volunteering total, but he also handed me a $20 bill and said, "Jesus suffered for you, so you could tough this out for some little kids." The worst pain I ever experienced in my life was when I was 21 and my appendix ruptured, which also caused some cysts on my ovaries to burst as well. I passed out several times from the pain on my way to the hospital, and when I came to after the emergency surgery, one of the nurses smiled at me and said, "Well, honey, you've just experienced the worst pain, worse than natural childbirth." When I tell you I would rather have my rotten appendix violently shoved back into my body and have it removed all over again than to ever wear that Clifford suit again, I mean it. The stench inside the mascot head made me feel like I was in that scene of Spirited Away when the gross mud spirit slops his way through the bathhouse and the smell was so bad that it spoiled the food. My eyes burned, the saliva in my mouth dried up, and the heat of my own breath made it stick to my pores. Inside that suit, I realized that God was either dead or a cruel creator, because no loving God would allow something as foul as that Clifford suit to exist. I ended up sitting for most of the hour-long commitment because I easily became dizzy while standing. I was told to act like a Disney mascot, waving happily and moving with excitement to welcome the little kids over to the books. All I did was sit in a small chair, staring straight ahead with my paw-gloved hands set on my knees, desperately grasping to hold on to whatever bits of reality I could. I wish I could say I blacked out for most of it. I really wish I did. But no, I remember almost every minute I spent in that sticky, red-colored fursuit. The worst part about it all is that every child that came by was terrified of Clifford the decaying corpse. One mother really tried to entice her toddler over to get a picture with me, but the kid screamed like he was being flayed alive when he was pushed towards me, and I don't blame him. I don't blame any of the kids for being scared. It was a scary costume, and I was scared while wearing it. I was wondering if the kids sensed my fear. I had nightmares about being trapped in that suit, or the suit coming to life and hunting me down for at least a month afterwards. The only small positive to come from it was that the older high school volunteer kids had a weird kind of respect from me from then on. One of them said I reminded him of his uncle who served in Vietnam. I understand why.
Oh my gosh, that poor girl. Oh. Oh my gosh.
Detailed, visceral description of a singular moment I've ever heard. Like, I don't think
It must have been that bad.
An object like a costume in such a long form. That's fucking horrifying.
When something gets that ingrained into your head as being that bad, I don't think you could really like argue or fight it at that point.
It was so detailed I can almost feel the stank on myself.
You gotta take a shower to disguise.
Yeah, need a shower after that one.
Yeah. That poor girl. God.
Well,
I've seen people in mascot costumes have heat stroke in the middle of practice or game stuff, and that's awful enough. But Jesus, that poor girl almost freaking died in that thing.
Oh yeah.
See, I have a little perspective. I've had a lot of friends who have worked for Universal and Disney as caricatures, and so
Do you think she had some damage from that smell in there or something? Because that sounds so toxic that she could have.
mold is a real toxic thing, man.
I'm pretty sure that half the time spent in that suit was probably visiting Jesus.
Honestly, after surviving the experience, getting out of the hospital, I would have gotten a hold of the fucking suit and thrown a burning the suit party.
Yeah.
A fucking keg and like a bunch of fucking tribal motherfuckers, you know, fucking out in the yard by the pool with the beers and your spears, throwing fucking torches on the freaking Clifford suit. Oh yeah, like a ceremonious burning.
Close the rift, Stranger Things style.
Like, getting closure from that fucking hellish experience.
Well, I think we've reached our natural stopping point yet again.
What
So
about something less traumatizing next time we close it out?
yeah, really. Well, I want to thank my wonderful co-hosts, as always, Ladyducky,
You guys have a great day.
Critical Skeptic.
Remember, folks, question everything.
And EmberSoul.
Appreciate everyone.
I want to remind everybody to please, if you like this podcast, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell so that you get notified anytime that we upload a new episode. We are available on Spotify in an audio version as well as on YouTube Music, directly linked to this video. You also have the ability to sit there and party with us for an after stream party Sunday, the same day that we upload this, at 3 p.m. over on Twitch. You can view it on either EmberSoul's channel, my channel, or Ladyducky's. We invite you to sit there and come along and play with us. We don't know which game we're playing yet, but you'll discover it at the same time we do on Sunday, the streams of which are uploaded to each one of our channels afterwards. Thank you so much for coming and viewing with us, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And please tune into the next episode and have a wonderful one. Bye.
Bye,
Bye, everyone.
guys.